In 2006, the citizens of Gadsden voted for a change and elected Sherman Guyton as mayor. Mayor Guyton had previously served the city as a member of numerous community groups and as a teacher, coach, and businessman. He earned the confidence of the citizens 3 more times, and over the next 16 years, Mayor Guyton and his administration worked with several city councils to move Gadsden forward.
Gadsden is very fortunate to have had a leader like Sherman Guyton, a public servant like Sherman. But in the business world, I've been here 43 years, have approximately 22 people in my office, and Gadsden's a great place to be from. It's centrally located, and in our perspective, the tax situation is good and our streets are good, and when I have visitors that come from out of town, they brag about how wonderful this city is, and it's a jewel. And we don't realize that until you have someone from outside tell us that. And I feel like the leadership of Sherman and his administration had a lot to do with that.
When Mayor Guyton took office, the city only had $4.9 million in the undesignated fund account, and the administration went to work securing the city's financial situation. One way to grow the local economy is through investment in industrial and commercial development.
Over the last 16 years, the City of Gadsden has recruited over about $700 million in capital investment with over 3,300 jobs in the industrial sector. For the last 4 years that I've been here, it's been a great working relationship. The mayor has been on call anytime I needed him. He's been willing to do anything I ask him to do in terms of recruiting business. Because of that, over the last 4 years, we've been able to recruit over $100 million in capital investment with probably over, it's still kind of judging because some of them are coming in, but probably about 1,000 jobs created over that last 4-year period. But this administration's been extremely successful over the last 16 years in providing a quality environment to recruit new jobs.
No, happenstance would have it that I became the director of Gadsden Commercial Development the same year that Sherman was elected. Prior to that, I was the marketing director for Gadsden Commercial Development and worked under Steve Means. So I had about a year of that. Sherman was elected and everything started moving forward. I'm very grateful to have worked with him for so many years and that he was my mayor, and personally my mayor because I live in Gadsden.
Part of attracting new developments is equipping local students for the workplace of the future. The Guyton administration has funded education at all levels in Gadsden, such as Career Tech at Gadsden State Community College and Gadsden City High School, reading programs, technology, and more. Over the past 16 years, more than $33 million in funding has gone to Gadsden City schools, which includes money spent to service debt.
Yeah, well, the high school was built, of course, prior to 2006, and students entered high school in 2006, and, the mayor was very instrumental in making that happen. Obviously, we were not able to do it on our own because we couldn't float a bond, but the city stepped in and took care of that for Gadsden City schools, and I suspect that they were very much involved in some of the planning and design as well. So this being Gadsden City High School, I think it's important for that relationship to have developed. But they have helped to maintain it as well with the repaying of the bond, and so that's something a burden that we didn't have to take on by ourselves. So we applaud the city for their efforts there. And in my relationship with the mayor and the council prior to becoming superintendent was obviously good. I didn't have to report to them that often, but since I've been superintendent, I think it's been pretty good. I think that, we've had a few hiccups here and there in terms of communication and understanding about, what specific needs were and whether or not they've been met. I've always had a great relationship with Mayor Guyton in particular. I anticipate a great relationship with the new mayor. As far as the city council is concerned, same thing. We maybe a few times where they may not have agreed with me, or I may not agree with them, but we realize that as a whole, there's a term that says the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and so I look at it from a whole and a holistic point of view, from the standpoint of whether or not our needs as a school system have been met. And I would say that overall, a few hiccups here and there, we have not suffered.
Well, we've had a great partnership with the city for over 30 years. And we've served several mayors and different council members have changed during the years, but that partnership has stayed very strong. And the city's contributions to us have remained about the same in terms of finance over the 30 years, but we were able to use those funds to make the cost of service to the companies or to the school either nothing, usually free, or maybe, a little bit, depending on the type project. So over the past 16 years during this administration, that's been a terrific partnership. And I don't know how well our organization would have done here without the help from the city. And I don't remember a time we didn't have all of the council members have been supportive, and certainly the mayor and Mr. Davis and other members of the administration. So I'm very grateful for that support, and I think it's enabled us to create a good workforce here, and one that where we've got a pool of applicants for a new company, but we've also continued to train those who are and have been employed for a number of years. Skills continue to change, as you know, and so training is required and some applied research from time to time, but we couldn't have done that without the city's support.
But a balanced local economy is more than just jobs. It also includes tourism, recreation, culture, and activities for citizens. Some of Gadsden's greatest assets are its natural resources. Very few cities have a river flowing through downtown, and development of the Coosa Riverfront has been a focus for the Guyton administration.
From the time that Kmart closed, I think he was intent on acquiring the Kmart property, because everybody talks about riverfront development, but it really had not occurred other than the Chili splash pad down on Rainbow Drive. So he was bound and determined that was going to happen. So we dealt with Miss Penelope St. Charles, who was up in age at the time and was hard of hearing, but she could email. So he would talk to me, and I would go back and email with Miss St. Charles, and we finally worked out a deal, and then the boss man said, "Figure it out." So we went to work with a plan for turning the former retail center into the convention facility for replacing Convention Hall.
There was a lot of projects that had been stalled, and he had the forethought to bring them forward. Some that were, had been sitting on a shelf, such as Coosa Landing, which was called, what was it called? The bait shop. And he had that beautiful building built right there on the river. And then they had a contest, Coosa Landing. And then it's just progressed since then. And then he worked with Alabama Power and did the boardwalk along the east side of the river, which helped bring Buffalo Wild Wings and other things that the city worked on.
Nakalua Falls is a national treasure and Gadsden's crown jewel. Since Mayor Guyton has been in office, the goal has been to continue capitalizing on that resource and making the surrounding area into a top-tier attraction for Northeast Alabama tourists and residents alike.
The Black Creek Trails was a big project money-wise, but it was also a huge improvement to our city. It brings in folks from all over that want to hike, bike, and just get outside. It has really increased the traffic to our campground and other parts of the park as well. It is an area that we continue to improve on and grow. It was a huge investment for the city, not only monetarily, but for the community. The wedding chapel was a great addition to the park. It helps to generate a little bit of rental income, but it also gives folks a great place to come get married by a great, beautiful waterfall, And it's fairly inexpensive. It is very reasonably priced. And so we have 2 or 3 weddings a week often, depending on the time of the year. But it's a very popular place for a small, intimate wedding. And then we also have facilities here that can be used for the reception as well, either outdoor or indoor. So our wedding chapel gets probably 10 phone calls a week asking for it to be rented. We have several events throughout the year here at Nakalula Falls that have started in the last 16 years. Those would be Smoke on the Falls, the Barbarian Challenge, Art on the Rocks, and even the purchase or the turnover of Christmas at the Falls to the city from the Nakalula Improvement Association. All of these events help to generate folks from outside the city to come to Nakalula, to Gadsden. They stay overnight, they stay in our campground. It helps to generate revenue outside the park, but also exposes our park to other people, and they come back and visit for other events throughout the year. Several of the improvements we've seen here at the park over the last 16 years, we have paved our pathways in the park, which was huge for our handicapped folks and our strollers. We updated or renovated the Pioneer Village and the covered bridge to maintain those and keep them from falling in. And that was a big investment, and it was noticed. Some of the other great improvements here at the park have been the addition of a boardwalk in the park, and its main purpose was to redirect traffic and provide better safety for the train to flow through a certain area of the park. But people have loved it. It kind of gives a new vantage point of the waterfall. Another great addition that a lot of people don't see is the Kiwanis Pavilion got a remodel several years ago, and it was really nice. And now it gets utilized for weddings, company events, and meetings because it has a large projector screen in it. And it just kind of redirected traffic to our office and gave us just a more streamlined, it made more sense. The building it was old and the windows were falling out, and it was just a really needed thing. The Black Creek Trails also led to the addition of the suspension bridge in the gorge, which allowed for a loop in the gorge for people to hike under the waterfall, go down, cross the suspension bridge, and come back. And that has led to a lot of guided hikes. We actually recently did a nighttime guided hike that brought in 55 people for that hike, and it was well received. People loved it. So people see that suspension bridge. It's not only beautiful, but it's very functional for our park. Several of our races utilize it. So it was just a really cool add-on. It is seen from the Black Creek Trails. It's technically not on the Black Creek Trails, but it's in the gorge, and has definitely been well received. The most recent addition to the park was our new trains that just came in this week. We're really excited to put those on track and get them rolling for Christmas at the Falls. It has been very anticipated. We have been without trains for 10 months. We retired them after Christmas last year. So our season ticket holders, our locals, are super excited for these new trains, that they can come and enjoy the train daily, not have to worry about the train breaking down often, which is what happened with our old trains. But it was a very slow process because all the tracks had to be redone. But now we have new, safer tracks. We have new trains that hopefully will run daily without mechanical issues. They are electric, so it provides a new green item here in Gadsden that people recognize. They're beautiful. They look a lot like the old trains, and we can't wait to run them at Christmas this year. All of these improvements have been made possible because of Mayor Guyton's administration. The staff here at the park, the locals here, and not only the locals but the tourists have been very appreciative of the upgrades, and they have been very noticed, not only with the physical upgrades but the addition of events and activities here at the park, and that's all been made possible because of the support of Mayor Guyton's administration.
Through continued support of Downtown Gadsden Incorporated and local businesses, the downtown area has continued its revitalization. City facilities like the Gadsden Museum of Art, the Pittman Theater, 210 at the Tracks, and the 5th Street Market are important parts of the downtown cityscape and have received significant investments during the Guyton administration.
I'm not really sure how long Sherman and I have known each other, but it's been quite a while. You know, he always says, I sold real estate for 31 years. Well, I was in banking for 30 years, so during part of that time we overlapped with that. But I remember specifically calling him when I was offered the job as director for Downtown Gadsden in 2007. He'd been in office a year. And I said, Mayor, I just want to make sure that you are going to support this position if I take this job. He assured me that he would, and he has done that in the last 15 years. So I am greatly appreciative for everything Sherman has done for me personally as the director of Downtown Gadsden. It has been nothing but growth in the last 15 years, and I'm going to attribute that to Sherman and his help with getting things taken care of that needed to be done. We probably have come from about a 60% occupancy rate in the last 15 years up to 90%, which is where we are now. So that's huge. I mean, I think any small town downtown would love to have those numbers. So I'm going to attribute that to Sherman and his support of downtown. We have done a lot of different things to help with that, but he's been behind everything we've done. Sunset Steps has been our primary fundraiser for a lot of different projects that we've had in downtown Gadsden. Again, this comes back to the mayor's say, let's have a fundraiser. So we have lights, rooftop lights on the building. We have our speaker system that people love to walk on our sidewalks and just hear the speakers. We've had new banners. We've gotten to do a lot of different things that we would not have been able to do as Downtown Gadsden unless it had been for the mayor's suggestion. Let's have a fundraiser. Anytime that you can have event centers, which is what 210 at the Tracks is, it's what the farmers market is at the Fifth Street Market. I call it the farmers market, but it's the Fifth Street Market. Anytime you can bring people downtown to know that we have a downtown, that's a great thing to do. So when they're going to these events, they're going to go through our downtown. First Friday actually started January of 2006. I came to work in October 2007. Sylvia Smith started it as a very small thing in her store, the Stone Market on Court Street. But the mayor was in attendance at that, and he saw the benefits of having things like that happen in downtown. So you can definitely say that when people think of downtown Gadsden, they think of First Friday, they think of classic cars, they think of good food, they think of entertainment, but they think of downtown Gadsden. That's, to me, the best part of that, and the mayor has been behind that. He's provided all of the necessary things that we needed to make it happen. Public Works comes and puts the barricades out, takes the barricades out, cleans the streets. We have police protection because we need that. We started out with a few hundred people. Now we have many thousands of people that come, and with the mayor's support, that's been able to continue.
While I was working here, I also served as president of the Gadsden Art Association. So a lot of the times what I would go, and I called him Sherman, I didn't call him Mr. Mayor, because we had a relationship before he became Mr. Mayor. But I always felt welcomed by him to share my visions or what I had in mind and what I needed. So I found him very responsive within the constraints of the budget because, as you know, budgets are dictators sometimes in what can happen and what can't happen. But I always found Sherman to be willing to listen and to try to negotiate what would be the best. And we didn't always see eye to eye, but we always finished whatever we started on good terms. So I think that's important when you work together, especially when you work for someone. If you can't do that, then you need to find another job.
While downtown is the heart of Gadsden, the Guyton administration has invested in all areas of the city. Over the course of the last 16 years, new community centers have been built in East Gadsden and at Banks Park in South Gadsden, and a senior wellness center is being built in Alabama City.
Yeah, the mayor and the council had been discussing the East Gadsden Community Center for years because most communities I guess probably back during the 80s, got new community centers. But East Gadsden was, it was just in really bad shape. And of course, we, as always with Sherman, how much is it gonna cost? And then when we started getting estimates, it was way more than anybody ever anticipated. And that was before construction costs went crazy. But it was the right thing to do with it being such a highly used facility and not having been replaced in forever and a day. It was, I think, the original structure. So he pulled the trigger with the council's blessing, of course, and here we are now with a very fine facility in East Gadsden.
Additionally, the former General Forest Middle School was renovated to become the Alabama City Center, a home for the Gadsden Boys and Girls Club and the city's transportation department. Important community facilities like the Central Carver Museum and the Alabama City branch of the Gadsden Public Library have also undergone renovations. Infrastructure is a crucial part of day-to-day life for citizens, and under the Guyton administration, the city has spent more than $29.6 million paving roads in every district. Bridges have also been replaced on Tuscaloosa Avenue, Hickory Street, and South 11th Street. Additionally, the city is spending $11 million in American Rescue Plan funding to alleviate draining issues throughout Gadsden. Many projects that started under the Guyton administration won't be finished for years to come. The second phase of the Gadsden Sports Park is still under construction. And the third phase, a miracle field for athletes with special needs, is on the horizon.
One of the things that's been really exciting for me as president at Gadsden State is the sports complex. I'm exceptionally grateful to Mayor Guyton, to Frankie Davis, to our entire city council for the vision, for the sports complex. It's a perfect example of how the college had property and the city had a vision for how to develop that for our community's use, for our citizens to use for sports. So I'm so excited about that for our young people, for our citizens to be able to go out and play, whether it's softball or soccer, whether it's being able to get down to the Coosa River, maybe some pickleball, but what an exciting and fun thing. As sort of a new kid on the block who's been here only a couple of years, I just had so much to learn about our community, and they've just come right beside me and nourished me, supported me, and been very kind, and it's certainly made my transition to the community and to the presidency here at the college just so much better, so much smoother, and I'm appreciative of each of those individuals.
Perhaps the largest future project is the Eastern Connector, an extension of I-759 by the Alabama Department of Transportation that will alleviate traffic issues and spur new development in Gadsden.
It would be impossible for me to catalog the number of times Sherman Guyton has spoken to me about this road. And it would be impossible for me to tell you how seriously he pursued this road at a time when it looked like it might die. And it would be impossible to tell you how persuasive he was in convincing me to have that traffic study done that validated the value of the road that he saw. And that I admit I had trouble seeing initially, but he saw it, and he had that dream, and he would not give that dream up. And so, Mayor Guyton, thank you. It's been awfully good to work with you.
Through prudent spending policies and a careful regard for taxpayers' money, the Guyton administration has secured the financial health of the city of Gadsden. The undesignated fund balance of $4.9 million in 2006 now stands at $24.7 million, giving the city a stronger safety net in case of unforeseen circumstances.
I know that we're leaving the city sound as far as projects are concerned, and definitely as far as money is concerned. Not what someone says, but I have a sheet of record when and undesignated funds are important to the city. When 16 years ago, when the mayor took over, there was $4 million roughly in the undesignated funds. We're leaving with $24 million in undesignated funds. The budget has been stable. We've not had any money crisis since I've been here these last 8 years, and definitely these last 4 years. When I came, you've heard about the Eastern Connector now, I-57
I-759. And I went to Washington and I sat in Congressman Adderholt's office and I inquired about that. So that's been going on for over 30 years. But I was asking him about that, and he explained to us at the time, money was designated for that, but it got pulled. So here we are, leaving the city with a project that's $65 million. The Eastern Connector, that's a project that has supposed to have been done over 30 years ago. We had a East Gadsden Community Center that was completely dilapidated, but they were still using it. And so that is something that is new. And I just rave all the time about the sports park. And definitely I was pulling for the champion field, that this is going to help those that are physically but challenged. But there's, and the wellness center that's coming. I just saw where the new trains at the falls. The mayor has done a super job in supporting all of these, because we had to have his support as well as council support. So the mayor has been super in seeing all of this come to fruition.
Mayor Sherman Guyton, his administration, and the City Council have worked tirelessly to equip Gadsden for the future and for the continued success of the City of Champions.